Good evening. I'm now calling to order the work session of the Board of Education for Battle Creek Public Schools. Today is Monday, March 10th, 2025. It is 5:30 p.m. Secretary, please call the roll.
President Jackson.
Present.
Teresa Nolan.
Excuse me.
Art McClenny.
Here.
Dr. Alicia Johnson.
Here.
Nathan Grayjack.
Here.
Chloe Fulbright.
Here.
Dr. Nicole, Vice President, sorry.
Present.
I'll now read the interpretation message. As a reminder, tonight's meeting is being interpreted into Spanish thanks to our partners from Voces Battle Creek. To listen in Spanish, please refer to the description on our YouTube live stream for the link. To our board members and other speakers, please remember to speak clearly and not too quickly so that our interpreters are able to keep up. I will now entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda
And what is the
to add as discussion item A, Fremont International Baccalaureate presentation, as well as subsequent items down.
Okay, we have a motion from Trustee Hoagland Jackson to add Fremont presentation for letter A under discussion. Any second?
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Hoagland Jackson, supported by Trustee Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Public comment. The Battle Creek Public School Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the community to express themselves on district matters. We have two opportunities on our agenda tonight for public comment. The Board of Education requests you fill out a public participation form with contact information. As you come to the microphone, please state your name. Each statement made by a speaker shall be limited to a 3-minute duration. And if the speaker represents a group, the person will be given 5 minutes to speak. BCPS Board of Education will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. Public commenters will direct all comments to the Board of Education and not to staff or other participants. We do have a public comment. Jonathan Grayjack.
Absolutely. Mr. Grayson, you got it. Here, give me some.
I have to keep track of the sugar and carbs in the food I eat. And I've noticed our school's breakfasts have a lot. Here's last week's nutritional value for our school's breakfasts. Students who ate their entire breakfast last week consumed nearly 300 grams of sugar. That's 1,000 calories worth of sugar. Anyone who asked for second position may be more. During breakfast last week, students were served 448 grams of carbohydrates. I use an insulin pump which regulates how much insulin I can take at one time because of safety and health recommendations. 3 out of 5 days last week, the amount of carbs served in breakfast exceeded those limits. Having sugary breakfasts are bad for all students, even ones who do not have diabetes, because it spikes your blood sugar, which causes fatigue, headaches, brain fog, irritability, and energy levels to crash. For students to be able to do their best work, I think this must change. Please consider having healthier breakfasts with more protein and less sugar. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to discussion. A, Fremont International Baccalaureate presentation.
Thank you, Principal Caldwell, for being here today. We have 2 school reports to let us know what's great about Battle Creek Public Schools, and so we appreciate you stopping by and giving us an update.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I'm going to start with some of the
general information about our wonderful school. And then I'm going to bring it to a finale with some of our ambassadors from Fremont International and what they presented and or have worked on with their IB exhibition and or IB units within their classrooms. So we're looking forward to having you see some of the final processes that are happening with our kids. So it's not working, but that's okay. Oh, there it goes. Fremont International Academy students are caring, open-minded, and reflective lifelong thinkers who positively impact the world. And we are a primary years program which encapsulates the curriculum framework for students ages 3 through 12. Obviously, we're not down to the 3 and 4 year olds at this point. Once in a while, we get a 4-year-old in, but we do K through 5. And then our focus is to see that the whole child as an inquirer in the classroom and in the world. And then the extra that we have above other schools when it comes to our specials programming is we do have Spanish instruction provided to all kinder through 5th grade students. And with that being said, the 5th graders take an end of the year test. If they pass that test, it's an exam that allows them to get a high school credit for Spanish 1. So it's a really great endeavor, and I know that we're making progress into the middle school to be able to allow them to go on with that to get Spanish 2, Spanish 3 credits as well. So with that influx, we might even be able to have kids with basically their Spanish majors almost by the time they get out of high school if they go into the college world with that. Sorry, keep going on. With that, at our school, we have teacher-developed units of inquiry because we do have inquiry-based lessons. So it's more of a question and answer conversation that we're looking to have within the classroom setting, as opposed to the teacher lecture style that we saw or were used to in elementary school. Lots more hands-on is the goal, and investigation and research by the students as they are working through their projects. We celebrate Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead holiday. We have a holiday program for celebrations around the world. We also, as I mentioned earlier, our IB exhibition, and then Black History Month slides and journals are throughout the school for our SEL lessons during that month. This is a brief look at our IB learner profile, and these are the character attributes that we are asking each of the students to model. The teachers are modeling and teaching, but we're asking the students to become reflective, balanced, knowledgeable, open-minded, inquirers, risk-takers, communicators, principled, caring, and thinkers throughout their day, each and every day, not just at school. We hope that they are taking that outside of the building as well and into the community and into the world, because we know that many of them may be traveling, especially in a few weeks at spring break. The IB learner profile attribute competency progression is just how we are looking at, and this is a living document actually, where we are always looking at how does it transpire from a kindergartner up to 5th grade, and how does that foundation in kinder, 1st, 2nd grade build for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So those are ways that we look for our students to be able to get even better and more mastery at the skills that we're asking them to do within the attributes. Other steps that we are taking to become 100% successful with all students is that our grade level teachers and staff collaboration, we have a school-wide focus on academic achievement, skill-based data analysis, and multiple opportunities for daily reading, and also daily practice and routines in math. We incorporated a new program this year, Fremont International Academy Black Men Read, and this was a partnership, or is a partnership, with the YMCA's Youth Positive Impact Coaching, or YPIC program. And actually Mr. Heath is in the audience. He's part of that initiation along with our 4th grade teacher, Willandra Malone. Fremont IA hosts approved guest readers from the community in every classroom on a monthly basis. It's initiated by Ms. Malone following last year's attendance at the Black Boys and Men National Symposium. So that was where the brainchild came from. So that was a benefit of us going and attending that symposium. And it's organized in cooperation with Mr. Heath, Program Director of the Fatherhood Family Services Hub, and Fremont IA Parent. As we stand right now, our STAR monthly assessment, which is kind of our taking a pulse throughout the year, our reading has gone up 4.5% since the beginning of the school year. Our math has gone up 7.0% since the beginning of the year, school-wide. And as I stated previously, our finale will be our star ambassadors sharing their projects from this year's IB exhibition while displaying the following IB attributes, character attributes. Inquirers, they're curious and independently learning, and they're enthusiastic. Knowledgeable, they're going to show what they understand after they've explored a variety of subjects. Thinkers, to be better creative thinkers and solve problems throughout that thinking process. And risk takers, which obviously they're doing that by coming here tonight too, with some public speaking, if you will. So without further ado, I welcome Titus up from Mrs. Galvin's 5th grade class.
Hi, my name is Titus Coburn. I was born in Shelley, Massachusetts, circa 1745. I was born a slave, so I didn't get an education or any younger information. I did get married to Rosanna Cooper Coburn, but there's no information one. I joined the 8-month service on May 6, 1775. I fought Bunker Hill and the Revolutionary War. Bunker Hill, June 7, 1775, and the Revolutionary War, April 19, 1775. I died 2 years after the Revolutionary War of smallpox on April 14, 1778, at 33 years old. And I also had a poem on like guitars, kind of, for our instruments. And it's with 4 strings of silver and gold, baritone sound, and aggressively bold. The bass guitar is my favorite instrument, holding the beat while looking cool like a freshman. The best brand is Fender, for it has the crispiest sound, resonating through the studio, the coolest instrument all around.
All right.
So a little background on the Benjamin Franklin, right, portrayal. We actually also, and I should have added that to the slide, I apologize. During the IB exhibition, prior to that, we actually had a wax museum with our 5th graders as well. So they were able to have parents come in and kind of practice through some of that as well. And so it was really cool because they would stand there quietly. People would come up and push the button on their arm or on the wall, and then they would tell their story. And a lot of them actually were able to dress up in their attire as well from that unit. Okay, next we have London from Mr. Washington's 5th grade class.
Hello everyone, my name is Nancy Ward. I was born in 1738 in a small Cherokee town named Chota, Tennessee. I was married to my husband King Fisher, and I had 3 beautiful children, 1 boy and 2 girls. I was a very strong advocate for peace between the European Americans and my Cherokee tribe. During council meetings in my tribe, I was the first woman allowed to sit in and vote with them on women's rights. I helped the Europeans during the Revolutionary War by warning them of impending attacks. And because of my display of courage and bravery, I earned the name Beloved Woman. I was the first Cherokee woman to own a cow, and I also introduced beef and dairy products to my tribe. I died in 1823, yet I am still widely celebrated today through photos, statues, and great stories of my life.
We have Marcel.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Franklin. I was born on January 7, 1706. I died on April 17, 1790. I was an American printer, publisher, author, veteran, scientist, and appointment. I am a founding father because I helped drive the Declaration of Independence and was one of the signers. I represented the United States and France during the American Revolution. And I was a delegate to the Constitutional Convention. I made important contributions to science, especially in the understanding of electricity, and I am remembered for the wit, wisdom, and elegance of my writing.
All right.
Describe your board.
And I'm like did like a project about like Egyptian music, IQ about music, coral bleaching and stuff, and 5 sentences per. I'm gonna do my coral bleaching first. According to the website National Ocean Service, when corals are stressed by changes in conditions such as temperature, light, or nutrients, they expel a same body algae living in the tissue, causing them to turn completely white. Bleaching of the coral reef causes the fish to die. You don't know how bad bleaching is because even though they're not one of the top of the reasons, they are still an important, valuable source. We will have a lack of oxygen and then we will die. The fish will die if the coral bleaches. The food chain will be totally messed and all on the sea turtles will be extinct. How are sea turtles unaffected by the coral bleaching? Warmer temperatures cause more females, there will be less males to mate with. Coral bleaching will make the habit that they live in health issues that can be fatal. Then the food will be scarce, so they won't have fish. Unfortunately, climate change have caused widespread coral bleaching and ocean acidification, which damages the habits of coral reefs. What is the bleaching and how does it work? According to the website, algae is in the tissues and causing the coral to turn completely white. This is called coral bleaching. When coral bleaches, it is not dead. Corals can survive a bleaching event, but they are under more stress and are subject to mortality. How can stop coral bleaching? Climate change leads to warmer ocean temperatures, causing coral bleaching. Climate change leads to warmer ocean temperatures, causing coral bleaching. Climate change leads to warmer ocean temperatures, causing coral bleaching, and there will be several ways you can stop coral bleaching. First, when you are diving near a coral reef, you should dive responsibly. Second is to wear a reef-friendly sunscreen. Third, eat sustainable food. Sustainable seafood is a fish, but they only in the amount that the sea can withstand. Some fish are overfished, and the sea cannot replace it. We need to make the law so a human cannot overfish. The water is too warm. Corals will expel the algae living in the tissues, causing the coral to turn white. This is called coral bleaching. When the coral bleaching is not dead, corals get spotted bleaching. They are under more stress and are subject to mortality.
Ellen? Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Eleni Bautista. I will be talking about the IB, which I will be also talking about my diorama, my instrument, and my board, which has my living mass museum. So in this unit, we learned about natural disasters, and I made a hurricane. So I had all the destruction right there. And then I made my instrument, which I had put 4 strings and put designs to make it look pretty and unique. Then I have my living max museum, which is Nancy Ward, who was born in 1788 in Cherokee, South Dakota. She was a beloved woman and a political leader. She got married to Buren Ward when she was 22 years old and gave birth to Elizabeth Ward too. Also, in this IB, we made a PowerPoint as well, which was about cultural music, and also we made an instrument poem, which I was about rhythm, and that's it.
King from Mr. Washington's class is next.
Good afternoon, school board. My name is King Pettis, and we learned about, and in my class we learned about environmental concerns, and My environmental concern is about sandstorms, and as you can see here is a before and after of a sandstorm. This highway has been affected by a sandstorm, and in fact most sandstorms happen in deserts like the Sahara Desert and the Atacama Desert and many more. If you ever find yourself in a sandstorm, take shelter somewhere with no windows and stay away from sandstorms, or there is a chance they could destroy your house.
And last but not least, Stephanie from Ms. Perez's class.
I'll be presenting about my wax figure. I did Alexander Hamilton. And Alexander Hamilton was born on January 11th, 1718. As a kid, Alexander Hamilton's mother died to yellow fever, and his father abandoned him. And so he went to his cousin, but his cousin unfortunately passed, which left him an orphan. When he turned 16 years old, he went to King's College and met a man named Aaron Burr, a man of many achievements. Soon the 1812 war began between the British and the American colonists. After a lot of fighting, eventually the American colonists won, and soon the winter ball started. Alexander Hamilton met a woman named Elizabeth Schuyler. Alexander Hamilton and Elizabeth Schuyler got married on December 2nd, 1872, I think. They had a daughter on January 4th, 1876, which unfortunately their son Philip died to a duel with George Ecker for honoring Alexander Hamilton's name. Then Alexander Hamilton got into a duel with Aaron Burr and died in New York City.
So the students asked me to make sure to ask if there were any questions, right? We're inquiry based, so they want to ask you if there's any questions about any of their processes that they shared today. That's okay. Yes, you did a great job. Yay. So thank you for allowing us this time to showcase our students.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So because this is a work session, we do have the opportunity to give feedback, and I just want to start by saying how impressive each and every one of the students were. You are a portrait of the academic excellence that exists within Battle Creek Public Schools, and my heart is just smiling right now based on all of that excellence. There was some students who came up and read so beautifully. I was wondering if you were in middle or high school. And there were other students who knew this without even looking at paper, and I couldn't have read one word or remembered it, but you did an entire speech. So thank you for being Bearcat Pride this evening. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving on to letter B, student recognition, BC STEM Access Vision. Dr. Carter.
Yes. So, on behalf of the Board of Education, we wanted to also recognize some additional students because they stepped up and served at the last minute, providing an amazing service to both us and our neighboring districts by being broadcast journalists during the joint board meeting. They've been developing essential skills and in the media production area through our partnership with Access Vision, Battle Creek's only local TV outlet. This collaboration has provided students with hands-on training in video camera operation, audio recording, video editing, and storytelling techniques, preparing them to produce high-quality professional media content. Most recently, these talented students who we are recognizing tonight, 7th grader Ayla and Nora, Amir, and 8th grader Quentin, demonstrated their skills as camera operators at the joint school board meeting held at McQuiston Auditorium on February 17th. Their contributions played a vital role in capturing and documenting that important event. We commend these students for their dedication and professionalism and look forward to seeing them continue to apply their skills in future community events. Our partnership with Access Vision remains instrumental in providing real-world learning experiences that empower our students for success in media communication. So, with that, I have a letter that you will take with you that is from the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools that recognizes and thanks you for the work that you did during the joint board meeting. So, if Quentin, Ayla, Amir, and Nora will come forward, I'd like to take your picture. Mr. Fowler, can you do me a favor and get a picture?
I would love to.
All right. Quentin. Make sure I give the right ones. Here. Nora. Thank you. And this is President Charlie. He's going to be right here with us. If you'll face that way. If you don't, we'll come around so she doesn't have to move too much. You're going to look at that picture. There you go. Congratulations. Any comments from the board?
I had one comment, just after hearing feedback from the other board presidents from Lakeview, Penfield, and Harper, they were also very impressed by the four of you. And I think it was great that it was on our home turf and now they have something to look up to or live up to, because you guys not only filmed, but you also asked questions. You were engaging. It was perfect, and it was great to see that we were well represented. So thank you all.
Is this part of broadcast journalism class, or this is just something that they
class.
want themselves to do?
It's a class now.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Very nice.
Perfect segue to
Moving on to C, Empowering Excellence, Progress and Achievements of BC STEM Innovation Center.
You guys come.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Here.
Good evening, everyone. I am Christian Manley, the principal at the Battle Creek STEM Innovation Center. BC STEM is a 6-8 middle school, and we are STEM focused. We are project-based learning focused, and we've done some work on our program design, and so I hope to share that with you today. We have themes for each grade level. 6th grade theme is identity, 7th grade is community, and 8th grade's theme is change makers. And so a lot of the things they've engaged in this year is around those themes and in their learning. And it gives our students the opportunity to learn in innovative ways. So access vision, 3D printing, and so forth, some of the things that I'll cover in the presentation. I just wanted to jump right to it because I was proud of some of our ABC data that we have going on here. Although our goal is 80% and up, but right now we have 75% of our students who are not chronically absent, which is a hurdle. It's hard sometimes when we're always looking at chronic data, and then when you step out and look at who's always at school, it makes you feel good. We do a lot of celebrating attendance. Our CIS coordinator is hugely impactful in this area. He does attendance contracts. He does 8:30 a.m. phone calls for students who are not at school, and he incentivizes students who need to get to school. And we also like to appreciate those who are at school every day, so that students don't feel like, let me not come to school to be appreciated. A couple weeks ago, Hopscotch catered to students who are in this 75%, and they had a couple hours of free. And so other students were asking, how do I get there? And so we have some incentive to get some students to school and do a last push before the end of the school year. Behavior, this was another bright spot. When you're in it, you don't always feel it. So 134 of our 145 students are tier 1. We do a lot of support. Our team works together very heavily. We check in each week. We have caseloads. Our CIS coordinator has brought in Big Brother and Big Sister, the Kalamazoo Black Male Alliance, and then we also celebrate students also. And so a lot of this work is the work of the team that you see right there, and these beautiful faces on the screen. And then achievement. Last year, STEM was a no status school with the state for MSTEP. We moved from 9% proficient, our lumped number, to 24% proficient in 24-25. And while that is not where we want to be, that is the direction in which we want to move. And so our hope is to continue to move forward and not ever have a status. During the winter, we incentivize our students with a bowling field trip. The goal is to be at or above grade level and or meet your growth goal. And we were able to take 104 students bowling in winter because they were at or above or met their growth goal for winter. We do another push in the spring. It's not and or in the spring, and so it's a little more high stakes, and we take students to full blast. And so what we tend to see is students who have a goal and they work towards that goal when we might not see them do those things other times. What we've done is we have really focused on being intentional. That's the word this year, doing everything with intention. And so we, PLCs are data-driven, standards-focused, engagement aligned. Like, how are we engaging students in learning in the classroom so that they are doing or learning the things they need so that their learning shows up. You can see the impact. And then now to the fun stuff. We also do a lot of fun with our scholars. It can feel chaotic sometimes, but when we see their faces, it's all worth it. So this year and last year, I believe, I'm not sure if the year before, but every half day is a STEM challenge. So that means the very first day of school, we start with a STEM challenge. It is not your typical first day of school. We throw them into groups and we give them a challenge and we compete in the gym. And these pictures were from the first day of school. Students work in groups, collect data, and then they go downstairs and they compete. This year, our focus on our STEM challenge is data collection. And so they were given a slow car and a fast car. Upstairs, they were measuring and timing how long a car took to go certain distances. And then when they get downstairs, they competed against each group. They were given a distance. They had to estimate how long it was going to take them, and the students group that got closest based on the graphing that they did upstairs was the winner. And so that's the focus we've taken all through this year. Our next STEM challenge will be on the 28th. Our engineering coordinator had some surgery this year, so we won't have one this Thursday, which I'm a little bummed about. But we will have our next one on the 28th where they will take this one and go a little further. The OEC, our 6th graders still go to the OEC. I tell them if it's no school and if it's half day, you don't go. But if you're at school, you're going to the OEC. And so they grump and groan, but whenever they come back and you see them and you ask them how it went, they love it. They do lots of things. 6th grade's focus is identity, so who am I as a STEM student? And then learning to work with others. So canoeing, high ropes, rock climbing, hikes. They take data at the pond. They have a bird. They do bird research. They learn survival skills, all kind of things that I think a lot of kids go to Boy Scouts to learn. They just go right on out to the OEC, and they do it every single weekend or every single Friday. Access Vision, as you just heard, we developed this partnership with Access Vision last year. It is a block away, so it's perfect. Right now, 46 of our 52 7th graders have been successfully trained in video. And what that allows them is a certificate that they can go in and access any of the recording materials in Access Vision outside of school. It does not have to be school related. They have that certification, so they are licensed to go and use the supplies. We're also getting a group of students trained on editing because they have editing equipment, and then also podcasting is new for them this year also. So we're doing a small group this year of those and hoping to expand that next year. And as you've seen, my lovely students here who reported for the joint board meeting. And then project-based learning. So this year we were able to partner with Van Andel Institute in Grand Rapids to support us with PBL. They trained all of our teachers on project-based learning at the beginning of this year, and then they helped us to launch 2 projects per grade level this year. They're ongoing support, so they support at staff meetings, and this Friday they will be on site providing PD for us. In the fall, our 6th graders did a project called Moments to Remember. Sixth grade students listened to the story of new friends, and I'll explain that in a minute, and crafted a biography for those moments in their life. That picture up top, they chose to use grandparents. And so we had sixth grade grandparents come in for an afternoon. We grouped the students. They interviewed the grandparents to write their biographies. Eighth grade students, their project was Food for Thought. And this project, students learned how to make healthier choices by diving into the world of nutrition. And then they made those foods for us down in our makerspace. Our seventh graders had a project also. We had 4 teachers on that launch, but then 2 of them have been in and out due to health reasons. And so they didn't, theirs was also supposed to be a podcast, but they didn't get to finalize that one. So I'm excited to see 7th grade finish their project this semester that we have launched so far. So they are in the beginning stages of their next project. So May 7th is our showcase. So if you'd like to see what they're learning in the second project, please come out. Hydroponics. Dr. Bell, our 8th grade science teacher, has dove into the world of hydroponics. It's one of his loves. And then through our connection with HydroConnect, through the support of WKKF, we have one very large hydroponic unit at the big picture that holds over 200 plants.
I just want to go on record and say WK Kellogg Company.
Yes. Hey, WK Kellogg. The big one holds over 200, and then the small one over here we have over 18. Well, we have 18 small units, and students have grown everything from cilantro, basil, tomato, jalapeno peppers, lettuce, kale, and they are continuing to grow. The bags in the picture are some of the things that they've collected recently that have fully grown and developed. So the students love this. It's really cool to see when you walk into Dr. Bell's classroom and see all the plants up and around and the food's growing everywhere. Yeah, and the big one is in the hallway, so if you ever walk down the main hallway, you can see that one too. And then Van Andel Institute. So not only do they provide support for our teachers with project-based learning, they also provide field trips for our students. So our students twice a year go to Van Andel and engage in a design challenge. And so they went in the fall. 6th graders did engineering design challenge, creative coasters. 7th grade did robots and coding, and 8th grade did a crime scene forensic learning lab. They are, and I love these pictures of them. These are some of my favorites. Our 6th graders just went to their second round last week, Wednesday or Thursday. Our 7th graders and 8th graders will go in April, again for their next round of field trip. And it really is a learning lab. It's 2 large classrooms. The students go in and Van Andel immerses them in the process of creating. And then we also have a partnership with Project Healthy Schools through U of M this year. This has been a very fun initiative. It's a health-based program through U of M to support and prevent childhood obesity. We've done things like apple tasting. They sent us Johnny Smith, McIntosh, and Gala apples. All of our students were able to do an apple tasting and to vote on their favorite. Our gym teacher is giving stipends for PE class and to provide materials. And then we also have stipend for health and wellness for our staff. And then we also have access to a health curriculum that they provide support and training on to provide for our students. And with that, so far this has been the best year yet. So I'm excited to see how this year ends with our scholars. Any questions?
I have a question. This is just, I know we've went over the tiers several times. Tier 1 I know was the lowest tier, right? That's
That's what we want everyone to see.
the amount of support.
Yes.
Okay, so all students are on a tier.
All students, you want, so to put it in perspective, you want 90% of your students tier 1.
Okay.
10% tier 2, and then, well, 15% tier 2, right, Monique? And then 5% tier 3.
Yeah.
15-5.
Ideally,
80,
that's the goal.
Gotcha.
Since this is a work session, I was just wondering if maybe your 8th graders could partner with the kids at Fremont to address the concern about the unhealthy breakfasts, and that would be a good segue because I know Fremont is a feeder for BC STEM, so just, something for kids to get involved in that. But they're doing amazing work at STEM.
Yeah, I love that Access Vision certificate and being able to check out AV equipment. Like how cool to be able to not make a movie with your friends, like get this equipment, rent it out, do some cool project editing. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I met with Access Vision a couple weeks ago, and they're really enjoying the partnership. And they publicize us on their website because they have to sign the releases for them too. And so it's really nice. They do a really good job with our students, and kids love to go. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to D, navigating federal actions on education. Dr. Carter.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of information swirling around what's happening nationally and what's the impact on schools. So as a part of our work session, we just wanted to have an open discussion of what do these federal actions have, what is the impact, what's known, what's still not known, and just have a discussion about what I've learned so far. So the federal actions that are impacting education right now, we are thinking about what people have on their mind are all the executive orders that are coming out. What impact will this have on budgeting and funding? There are lots of legal challenges and Supreme Court cases that are ongoing. There have been several Department of Education policy changes, and then we'll talk about what are the implications for school districts. So I think the most important takeaway for me in my learning was that executive orders don't create new laws. It was really a reminder, right, that they amend existing law. They don't amend existing laws or offer any binding interpretations for schools to follow. Instead, they just direct federal agencies on how the president intends to enforce the existing laws. So an example of that is Title IX. And Title IX, that law hasn't changed, but the enforcement of that law and the interpretation of some of it may change, right? And that's where we're starting to get into gender identity and all of the things that are covered, diversity, equity, and inclusion. While the law hasn't shifted, the interpretation of that law may have an impact on schools, but that's still kind of nebulous. And it will undoubtedly align their enforcement actions with these directives. So that's what we are kind of keeping our eye on. So the ones that are most important to keep our eye on as public school governance team is the school choice executive order. It's guidance on how to use federal funds for school choice initiatives that has a broad and could have a broad and sweeping impact by, again, diluting the funds available to public education and moving that off into private areas, which will then leave schools really kind of fighting for funds to do just the bare minimum of offering these wonderful programs that you've heard today. The other one that we're keeping our eye on is gender ideology and critical race theory, which prohibits federal funding for instruction on these topics. The issue is that what does that really mean, right? And so we're trying to understand what does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean to some, because it doesn't mean that to others. And so as of right now, and I think I have the board's support, we continue to have an equity imperative. What we're worried about or keeping an eye on is the difference between equity and equality, right? And where individuals are using the word equity, what they're really talking about is equality. When we say equity, we want every child to have the same opportunity and access, not about trying to limit the access of one at the expense of another. And so we're going to keep our eye on that and keep pressing forward until we're told to do otherwise. The impact that we're going to see is increased compliance monitoring and potential for enforcement actions based on what type of language you're using or what the perceived impact might be. Because this is an open discussion, please feel free to jump in. It's like whatever is coming to mind for you.
Regarding critical race theory.
Yes.
So I'm curious what discussions have happened with teachers around instruction on like history and how it's delivered, because I think that's where you know what I mean, like, we still teach history, and, right, I think considering how we teach history, maybe where we could have impact.
So I don't know that, we haven't had any conversations about that yet at the building levels, because my goal has been to try to alleviate the anxiety around the broad reaching until we have further information about what absolutely needs to change. I don't want to have people worried about something that gets in the way of just keeping the main thing the main thing. So no changes right now. It doesn't look like we have to make a change. However, I have seen an increase in feedback, negative feedback from families, and I'll just go on record and give an example that the Fremont information that you just received, the staff survey came back, not the staff survey, the parent survey went out, and there was an anonymous response. We don't want to teach Black history anymore. We should not be teaching Black history. We should be thinking about only, quote, white history. And so that was actually, and I've never had that type of response in our public schools. And so I think that we just have to be vigilant in making sure that all of our children feel safe, seen, and heard, and that we're teaching all history. So that's still my mantra here in Battle Creek Public Schools.
So I'll add a little sprinkle of non-legal advice. I'm not the board's lawyer. But when it comes to reading those executive orders, they're worded in very inflammatory ways. But when you read the substance of it, so I just pulled up the one on critical race theory, because first of all, no K through 12 schools teach that. It's a very specific type of education that is not going to come in that place. But the talking points have been made that. But if you look at what he says at the end of it, he says, my administration will enforce the law to ensure that recipients of federal funds providing K through 12 education comply with all applicable laws, prohibiting discrimination in various contexts, and protecting parental rights. Teaching about Black history is not discriminatory. Right. It is a part of American history. Women's history is a part of American history. So nothing that we're doing needs to change. People are just latching onto words and essentially creating new slurs. So DEI is a slur. Black is now a slur. What we've been doing is not illegal. If it was illegal, we wouldn't have been doing it, because we've been under Title VII, Title IX, all of these laws anyway. So now that there's just executive orders, it's performative, but it has no substance, because in order for a law to change, Congress has to do that. We know that's not going to happen.
Right.
So there's nothing really that he's going to do. And as Dr. Carter said in the very beginning, executive orders just change the focus of, it signals to his administration or the people over those departments to shift their focus and enforce it a certain way, but they cannot change the law. So there will be lawsuits if they enforce it in a way that is not consistent with how the law was set up. So it's meant almost to scare you away from stuff without having any teeth. So I'm glad that we're not moving away from that, because we weren't doing anything wrong to begin with.
Correct. Love that.
I would say that one of the things that protects us is that we are following the state of Michigan guidelines about curriculum in terms of standards. So I think, we stand on that, and I think, we'll be protected on that. But I am concerned about this website and this hotline that the administration has set up so that people can drop or snitch on districts anonymously and say that we are teaching DEI and gender ideology. And so how do we navigate that?
So, I knew that would come up, and put it in perspective. There are 13,000 school districts in the United States. And so who in his administration has the opportunity to investigate millions of complaints? And so I think, to Trustee Perry's point, this is to create chaos in public education, and so now it's our responsibility as a governance team to protect our staff from the anxiety associated with the chaos. And so we will manage the message in this space until we have to bring others into it. Does that make sense? That's my perspective, because I do truly believe that it's about creating chaos and fear. And it takes people away from just doing the job of teaching and learning And I don't want to create that fear. We will stand firm on ensuring that every child has access to a quality academic and get what they individually need, regardless of race or gender. Comments? This is going to be a wild ride, and I think it will be an ongoing conversation as we figure out how to navigate it, even as early as a closed session that we will engage in next board meeting to understand the implications of some of these enforcement rules that are coming up. And it's really about what level of risk are you positioned to take, right? No guarantees.
I think also, like, to put a cherry on top, these enforcements, these executive orders, I feel like change daily, or decisions about them change daily, if not weekly. Like, it's so hard to, one week we're going one direction and then it switches, and it's hard for districts, it's hard for anyone to go in a certain direction if it changes every other day. So that's just another hurdle for us.
We're going to do what's best for kids and what's best for the adults that serve the kids. And we'll have conversations as a governance team about what we want to change in policy based on our response. But Troon is the board's attorney, and they will continue to send us guidance, and we will review that guidance as a collective to determine our next steps. Okay? It will start, normally if it's a policy change, it will start with the policy committee, and then they will make a recommendation to the full board about how we should respond. And policies are come across my desk every 6 seconds. So next up, I wanted to talk about, I get a lot of questions and I'm receiving multiple texts. What does this mean for our funding, right? Especially as we're going into the 25-26 budgeting. The most important understanding is that the majority of our funding comes from the state. Our federal funding is included in Title I and IDEA. And IDEA is special education funding. So with that being said, the majority of the Title I monies have already been distributed. So if anything, the impact is down the road when Congress votes on another budget. Right now, what they're looking at are cuts to school meals funding. We are a universal free breakfast and lunch district, so that could have implications on the number of students that receive those free meals. We don't ask for your income or anything like that. We just make sure that all kids are fed, and that is supplemented through federal and state funds. But if you're paying attention to Governor Whitmer, she is also putting state money behind it. So hopefully we can mitigate that. The other thing that may have an immediate impact is Medicaid reimbursement for schools. And so there are many districts that receive monies for the services of special education that is Medicaid reimbursed. And so that will just impact the amount of funding you're receiving there. And then any competitive grants, those are all under review or paused. And those are special programs like electric buses. I'm going to talk a minute about E-rate and those kinds of things. But the congressional discussions on the 2025 budget are still ongoing, so no immediate impact. Any questions about that?
Do we have any ongoing competitive grants right now that are happening?
Yes, so that would be the next one. So E-rate, E-rate is on the chopping block, and that is a, what's the best way to describe it, please, Director?
90% off coupon for technology.
What was that?
The 90% off coupon for technology. We have a 5-year cycle with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it allows us to pay 10% of the cost of technology infrastructure.
I like that, a 90% coupon, 90% off, basically. And so when Director Fowler saw that, he thought, oh my gosh, that's where the majority of the funding for technology comes from. And so we know that our school currently can't absorb those kinds of costs. And so there will be some hard decisions, right? Medicaid dollars are at risk. $13.3 billion in special education, $14.6 billion for meals could decrease, and then $16.5 million in Title I could go down to $12.5 million in the GOP proposal. So the things that we cover with Title I are those supplemental services like school, summer school is a Title I, instructional coaches are a supplemental, some other things. Our interventionists, behavior interventionists in our schools are covered under Title I. So it's all those supplemental services that help us manage the day-to-day operations. Our state funds go for making sure we have teachers in classrooms, right? And so all of those extras that you hear about, from going to Van Andel for those extra, all of that is covered by the supplemental grants that we receive.
So I have a question. This isn't official yet, but have we started thinking of a plan B if all this does happen? Like, so not at the last minute, we have to. What comes to mind is like when COVID happened, we had to hurry up and get virtual learning for everyone. Like, can we get ahead of this just in case any of this does happen? We're not going to be scrambling at the last minute. We'll have a direction to go.
So, to a point, I would answer that in terms of we are launching the zero-based budgeting, and so we will have to prioritize how things are funded, and if money is available, then this. But we're going to first fund the things that are most critical, mission critical, is how we say that. Okay.
I have a question. If Grace Health funded with this?
Grace Health receives their own grant to do this work, and so they may be at risk if it's federal, but my understanding is I think they receive state grant money.
Okay, and our head coaches, is that paid through Title I?
Some of them are. Some are, and some are paid through 31A at-risk dollars.
And then what about community and schools?
Title I.
Title I, okay.
Do we know when the next budget is?
I actually don't know.
I don't either. I was curious, because that would help with the pre-planning question you were asking, because then
I think it's around November. It doesn't impact this year. It's pretty late. So the one my eye is on is state budget right now, which is how we really define what we're using. So it won't have any. So I don't anticipate any staff decisions impacted federally until the next year.
Yeah.
Right? So
next school year?
Next school year, yes. So Department of Education changes and impacts. There is a possible workforce reduction. You've all heard about that. No immediate impact. I said that on Title I. And if the DOE is dismantled, federal education oversight may shift to other agencies, and states may assume greater responsibility for education regulations. Those are the potential impacts. So there have also been EOs around Title IX. So there was a bunch of Title IX regs that came out in 2024. This rolled them all back, and we retrained staff to go after the 2020 rules. And so we are up to, we are all trained, we are all certified to make sure that we are following the 2020 Title IX rules and regulations. There is just still a lot of uncertainty around gender identity protections, and so we've been recommended to review policies and determine our compliance risks as it relates to that. This is the one that public education should be most concerned about, and that is the National Voucher Bill. They are seeking to divert public school funds over to private, and it would include families earning 300% of the median income. So what does that look like? And this is my my public school leader view, right? Non-political, but public school leader, recognizing that the individuals that benefit from this already go to private and right? And so what it does is take the money and put it back in other people's pockets. It doesn't really impact those other entities. This is my personal opinion, right? This is what I'm looking at as a possible. However, it takes money away from the schools and really dilutes our ability to actually add adequate compensation for students, because with this bill, the money follows the kid, even though the needs and the staffing levels remain the same in the district of service.
So I have a question, just out of
Yes.
ignorance. Can you homeschool and still be a part of a district? Like,
Athletics, right?
Yes.
what'd you say?
They could do athletics.
In foreign language.
And extracurricular. Yep. So we're still responsible for some of those costs, but
There's no such thing as like, I'm homeschooling, but I'm still a Battle Creek Public Schools.
we wouldn't get any FTE funding for them.
They still get to take, they can take classes.
Yes.
Yes, because I was going to say, I know some people.
Not core though, not
that
core
they can,
classes.
right, but they can take
For free?
some
For free.
classes. Yeah, because I know,
Yes.
I knew a couple people that homeschool, but
They
they
can
still
take the
have classes
extracurriculars,
here.
but they can't do core classes. Yes, for free. So we still have to make sure we have staff for PE, art, music to allow for that. That's not a huge problem for Battle Creek. What we worry about is the out-migration of families, but leaving concentrated vulnerability, and under-resourced kids need more resources. But the majority of those resources will be diverted from public education. So the work we do becomes that much harder. So Michigan's ban on public funding for private schools remains intact. So there's still that tug of war between federal and state policy that is happening. So what do we need to do? We're going to continue to monitor these policy changes, engage in advocacy efforts to protect key funding sources, right? So it's our responsibility to stay in communication with our legislators to help them understand the impact of the decisions that they're making locally so that they can represent us well. We're going to continue to consult legal counsel. They are rapidly sending out alerts almost weekly now, and prepare for potential shifts in federal education oversight. Still don't know what that means, but we're keeping our eye on it. And then finally, stay informed on some of the Supreme Court rulings and Title IX interpretations that are coming down the pike. Any questions?
I remember at our previous meeting, we said we needed like 50 kids in order to mitigate that funding gap that we had. And so I'm just thinking about how that's gonna, that's gonna make it even, we're gonna go from 50 to maybe more with that, and that's a concern. And then also, you know, teacher compensation is gonna be affected by that as well. And we're the highest paid in Calhoun County, I believe. And so I worry about those two implications, student retention and teacher retention.
Yes, that's what's, we say, what's keeping you up at night.
Yeah.
And what's keeping me up at night is the progress we've made financially and the lack of stability that is on the horizon for us, right? And we are right now in negotiations. We have 3 contracts up for negotiations. And so I will start to share contract negotiation updates, but I've pretty much had to say I can't make any decisions around compensation on behalf of the board until we have more understanding of what's possible, especially facing a $2 million structural deficit today, not including what's coming. So Keep hope alive, though.
And I know you wanted to, some of the things we have privatized, you wanted to bring them back into the fold.
That's not on the table. Not even possible at this point.
Another concern was there was a list of federal buildings that the administration wanted to sell, and the Battle Creek Federal Center was on there, and I don't know, how much traction is
speak
there.
on that.
Okay, and so I'm like, that's one of the #1 employers in our city, and so the implications for public education too for that would be felt as well.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like 2 hours after it was published, it got taken down.
Okay.
Like it was,
Okay.
I feel like it's always up for sale because it's such an old, decrepit building.
Okay.
But I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I think that building is staying. But it freaked everyone out. Like for 2 hours, everyone was going.
Chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos. That's, yeah.
Chaos and fear.
So it's my understanding that even if that building was to sell, go up for sale, and Charlie might know this, actually been talking about this with some other people. The building itself, if it became a new tenant, the people that are in the building would possibly still be there. They're just renting.
We're leasing from GSA.
Right now. So rather it's sold or rather it has new owner, the tenants in the building right now are leasing the building. So
So advocacy and action.
yeah.
Advocacy is our biggest thing right now.
Reduce stress.
One thing we didn't talk about on here is immigration. And then like what guidance we're giving to the schools. I think we did something. We've given the schools at least protocols on how to handle, if we haven't, we should, on how to handle if there was to be ICE or any sort of officer to come, but then also the support for parents around that. So I know we're focusing on the funding and the teaching aspect of it, but that's also matters.
Yeah, and I think for the purposes of our public meeting, to make sure everyone understands that we did send out guidance. We did update our policy and our practice, not our policy, because our policies are solid. We updated our practice to make sure that there was common understanding of how to respond, who to call, what to do, and who to leverage. And then our ML families, and we do have an ML parent coordinator, are working with families to make sure that they have their needs met and understanding. One of the things that I want people to understand about that EO is that, again, was a lot of fear, and it really is not intended. There's a minimal chance that it actually impacts schools because it goes after adults, and schools are probably the last on there, but it contributed to a lot of fear. And so to make sure that we were ready for that 5% chance, we do have practices that are stated across the district. Yes.
I think it's died down now, thankfully, but
For now.
For now. For now.
I'm a huge advocate of just being ready.
Yes.
Right, like just making sure that we are taking inventory of if we needed to pivot, we already know we're going to pivot. At this point, anything's up in the air, and I can't remember who mentioned it earlier. I mean, there may be people who decide they don't know really what's going on, but they might want to report something, and then that, So just my point earlier about communicating with teachers. So I'm curious about what insights from our attorneys. So where I work, our attorneys, they give us some and they put it in risk. This is high risk, this is moderate, this is low. And for you all to consider that, right? Anything from the language that's used, the approach to, how we teach things around intercultural development. So I just think we should just be ready.
Mm-hmm. So absolutely, I think.
And there's some guidance, I think, because even I read one of the things about, critical race theory, and I would say personally, I have different thoughts. So I'm going to speak from.
Yes.
One of the things about it is when folks teach history from a place of who's oppressed and who's not oppressed, and that can be a red flag. And I know we may approach it. We do talk about it. I know I do when I'm talking about Black history, because that's the truth to me, and could also be perceived as a risk if we communicate about history in terms of those who are oppressed and those who are not oppressed according to that definition. So I was saying, like, making sure that our teachers are aware and prepped around, like, you never know, somebody could raise that up as a red flag, and just for us to all be prepared that we're not changing our stance, and we also want you to be knowledgeable about what this actually means. This is a lot of information.
And because I think I hear you, and
Yes.
the place that I'm in is until we have more information to
Right.
actually make the right move,
Right.
then we'll do a deep education with educators, right?
Yeah.
But right now, I mean, to what Trustee Perry said, it changes
Oh, yeah.
so regularly that
Definitely.
I don't want to tell you today it's this, and then tomorrow, oops, because that literally has happened within the last week a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but to make the board feel really comfortable, is Troon is on top of it, because they're representing so many districts across the state. Now, their language can be complex sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Can you just put that in like in baby terms? But they're thorough.
Yeah.
And so what will happen, I think, is that the policy committee is going to become really, really busy in trying to determine what changes and some of the policies that we just recently adopted.
Yes.
So that's going to be the heaviest lift for this board.
Yep.
And then that, once those changes we've committed to, then it gets taught to our staff,
Yep.
right?
Are we still using TCI for social studies
Yep.
curriculum? So I would say that if we're using TCI, we're pretty safe. It's not written in that way. Now, you might teach it that way, but it's certainly not
Yeah.
written that way. So I think we have that legal protection there. So, and you know, what's good about that is that everybody's teaching the same way, right? So there's some uniformity there too. So I think you are there.
But what I think my biggest takeaway is from the Board of Education, making sure we're vigilant and staying abreast of where the risks are, communicating to the board as a governance team what those risks might be, and then allowing us the space to make decisions around those risks. That will be my job moving forward. To the new.
It's gonna be a long.
Hey, America voted for this.
Well, that's true, but it wasn't. I know. Also, was this one?
This.
We survived the last one.
My head up.
Well, on a happier note, let's move on to E. Superintendent Community Update, BCPS Improvement Bond Proposal. Dr. Carter.
We have a, there should be a presentation for that as well. Right, and then a hit of the button, Mr. Hayden, can you hit the air for us? Okay. Was it in the
I was
packet?
just sitting very still.
No presentation in the packet?
No.
Oh, that was
I got this
that was
little-
last day
this little
before she left. So I'll get-
Two-sheeter.
We have a nice hand.
Anyone on drive anywhere?
Board of Ed,
Oh, hand.
Let me see if it's in Canva.
It's down there.
I'll see it is.
Okay, I'll just do a brief talk. It's fine. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to update the community on where we are with the zero tax rate increase. We do have these wonderful, beautiful flyers that have been made. There are some out on the table. If board members are going to public locations and you want to receive some, we can make sure that you have them available. We are now in the education portion of our campaign, making sure that individuals are aware and that they have that top line talking point about about the zero tax rate increase. We received the sample ballot already, and so we are ready to go. The vote is on May 6th. There is no early voting for local elections in Battle Creek, and so that was a question that came up. It will be on May 6th, but there is absentee voting that they'll need to contact the precinct about, which will be starting March 27th. So this bond is supporting our students and schools through updated playgrounds, high-end security systems. Part of that security system are vape detectors, and there was an email going around about vape detectors, and I'm pleased to report that we were already on that. We are going to be using some of the tobacco lawsuit funds to also couple with this. Director Hayden and our facilities director went to 2 districts to view vape detectors in action, understand how they would integrate with the security system, and so it would be one integrated system that would also be a part of our cameras. So we're really excited about that, and we're looking forward to this bond measure passing so that it provides the funds necessary to meet that aim. There are some post-stadium improvements, roofing restoration, and then we want to strengthen our buildings that are an average age of 75 years old.
Just to make sure I'm understanding, the vape detectors, those are like the smoke detector style devices that would be in the bathroom, detective there.
I'm going to allow him to talk a little bit more about that.
Very similar to those, and we're actually navigating the pros and cons because they will tie together, but I guess if you go on TikTok and find a way to navigate them, tell you how to dismantle them, that type of thing. So we're actually, we're looking into that as well, yeah. I know.
So I guess I'm a little confused. I know when we got that tax, that money for the tobaccos, we talked about doing that. I thought we bought those, or we never did.
It's not enough. So we have some, that was like a drop in the bucket. So it's been earmarked and set aside until we get the rest of the funds to actually implement the project. Correct, yes. So we haven't used that money. It will go towards this, but it was nowhere near enough.
So the detectors are just a tool, though. Like enforcement kind of is a thing, right? So whoever, if it's a problem at a building, have people going there in the while we're waiting. I don't want to sit back and be like, oh, we don't.
Absolutely not. They
like if we're like leaning into do extra checks or whatever if there's a problem that.
So if I may, on the trip we went to Plymouth Canton schools, and actually during the time as we were getting an update and they were sharing it, there was actually one in progress. There were 2 students that went into the bathroom, either was tampering with or something of that nature. It gave an alert to the security office. And what happens is, say if this was a restroom, there's cameras right outside, they detected them and followed them right away, and their SRO went right on ahead. And I mean, really, it's one of those things, if they were advertising for the system work, you got my vote. Because it did. It worked the way it should have, and they said, these are things. Now, to your point, the one thing we'll have to do is educate our administrators about what's the next step. So that's going to be something that, again, we will have to put into policy. Some parents are going to say, well, you got cameras and this and the other, but it's all about the safety of our children. Some of these vape detectors are also so technologically sound that if I'm in there and I say, help, they will hear that, and that sets off an alert that someone, security, will go right away and find out what's going on there. So it's come a long way, yeah, it's come a long way. Those are things, as we're saying, Trustee McClellan, that we will be able to integrate, tie all together with the cameras and everything, which is why the lift for this is so huge. Battle Creek Central, our 2 middle schools, and our alternative ed school.
So, and to your point though, Trustee Perry, and I'll allow Director Cheeks to add anything, but the information at one of our schools, there is a concern about it. It's pretty much at all schools, it should be, but one school has been a little bit more vocal, but they have, I would say, 5 Bearcat coaches. Lee, how many Bearcat coaches do they have?
There's 3 there, 2 attendance monitors, and 3 administrators.
Yes, in addition to a behavior interventionist. I say all that to say Director Cheeks and her team have been working with the school to put in place enforcement practices and monitoring. And so with all those adults and only 2 bathrooms, we're trying to understand where the breakdown is so that we can provide more support.
And then even teachers, don't they? Do they not use the same bathrooms? I could be just ignorant, so I'm not.
No, teachers have their staff bathrooms, but there are major 2 gang bathrooms, 1, 2, maybe 4 total. I'm picturing them at Springfield. And with all of those adults, the monitoring practices should be such that I'm questioning what's getting in the way. So that's what we're going to have more conversations about.
Also, you can lock the bathrooms at Springfield, unlike the modern buildings that don't have a door, so I'm really confused.
Some of them are locked.
Okay.
I seen some, and I back up. An hour is killing me. I seen some negative comments in social media, and I really want to emphasize that this is not an increase. And I see it here, but I'm just telling you what I've been reading, and I actually got into a little dispute, which I swore it off social media, disputing it. But they were so insistent, and they had everyone else thinking this is a tax increase. And so I just want to make sure, and I know you are doing your best, and the administration is, but I just want that message hammered. This is not a tax increase, and I don't know any other way or how we have to make sure this message is out there. I don't care if we, other than putting it on a piece of paper and mailing it to every person in this district, but because this is growing, and I don't know if anybody else has heard it, but it's growing. This is growing on social media.
We were, when we first did this, that was the concern, right? Is to make sure that everybody is getting out and making sure the facts are out there, which I will, to that point, I will send this to everybody electronically so that you can continue to get the word out. We have copies. I have been trying to go to different organizations. Mr. Hayden has been out. So just trying to answer. And I think this visual is helpful for people to understand that Battle Creek Public Schools is in line with everyone else.
I'm just, for social media, I would just say less words, 0 big, like people's attention span is like that quick. They're not reading all this, they're not understanding the graphic. But like if you y'all create something that can be easily shared where it's emphasizing vote yes, 0% increase, well, we get money to do stuff. Like it can be that simplistic, because that's what ends up catching people's attention quicker than having all of this. It's great for those of us who want to read, but on social media they ain't doing all that reading.
So let me just clarify one thing. School district cannot tell people how to vote, but you can.
Well, you make it, and then I'll say
Exactly. That's the point.
If
We create, I just want to make sure you understand why ours doesn't say that, but we're going to make sure it says 0 tax rate infant. Then when you share it, you put the big
check mark.
I know. So, I know someone mentioned to me they were at a community meeting and they heard people discussing it, and all of them saying that they weren't going to, and even after providing some education, they still, and this was not on social media, this was in person. And it sounds like there may be some confusion about the last time, right? Like, yeah, so it sounds like there's some confusion about, well, how we just voted on this, yada, 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 you know what I mean? So I don't know if...
It's a slow boil. And I shouldn't have said just social media, because yes, you are correct, I've heard it in community. And trying to combat that right now, it's a slow boil.
So let's because we got to talk about this, because the implications of not passing,
Yes.
right, are huge, given what's going to happen. So we cannot absorb these costs, right? So let's talk about, to get clear here on the advocacy. The community graciously, and we are grateful for $48.5 million that they gave us. That $48.5 million has done amazing, and you see the outcome of that. We're going to, we have a new Northwestern that is serving the Washington Heights. Let's talk about how we were good stewards of that. Because of the investment in the economy and the changes, we are able to generate off that same vote $28.5 million. But in order to use it, we have to have their permission. Does that make sense? So yes, they voted for an amazing $48.5 million bond. And because that rate, that is coming down and it's generating some funds, we're able to get another 28.7 to continue to fix all of the things that are going wrong without asking them to put more taxes in there. That is really difficult to explain, but we just have to stay on message that we're not asking. We understand. And this is what I said at the last community. We understand the impact of the transportation millage that recently passed, because that's part of this as well. We understand and honor that individuals are paying more. We're not asking them to do that beyond the decisions that have already been made. So I know I'm worried, and I hope that we are able to get the message across that our students need and deserve this investment.
What's our communication strategy like amongst the schools, amongst community, like faith-based community or anything like that? Because it's simple. If you explain all that to somebody, they still won't get it generally, because taxes are just complicated. At the end of the day, it's just zero. It costs you nothing. Is the tagline. But how are we evangelizing that out there, or how can we help you all?
I think you can be a little bit more intentional about the zero than the district can be, because what we don't want to, because it's not zero tax burden, because you're still paying taxes. And so the attorneys kept pushing back on us and rewriting this to make sure that there was nothing in writing that people could say, we said you're not paying taxes, because that's not, right? And so that's the kind of dance that we're doing. But our communication strategy is continuing to say zero rate increase, verbally explain what that means. We have ambassadors going to all of the NPC meetings. We have ambassadors that are going to the faith-based communities. We have ambassadors that have already touched Urban League, NAACP, and other community organizations. I am going to several different larger business-related functions to explain so that they can be ambassadors. Our former trustee, LaValle, has taken on the call of getting out there. And then our marketing is through social media. We have a website now that is devoted to the bond, and call out, and we're going to be at all of the conferences, because our greatest voting potential are the parents in our schools.
Do we have signs yet?
Oh, thank you. 200. Yes. 200 yard signs are coming, and we have great big information boards that will be in every single school, hopefully by next week.
So 200 for Charlie's yard. What else?
I'm right across from a polling station.
We actually may have ordered more, but we'll have those available, I think, next week. They've been sent out. We'll have them for you to pick up.
Give me one of those big ones.
And then that's the other piece that we're
I think that's good. We just have to remind people of this date, because this is not a highly publicized date. So reminding people, one, when the ballots are available for absentee, March, like having a pulse reminder with that.
Yep.
I'll make sure I hit it in my circles. But for all of the things you just mentioned, definitely have to push as we get closer to that date.
I'm sad to hear that there is a swirling of non-support happening.
I feel like that always happens though, because people will have I've talked to somebody and they were just like talking about something completely unrelated to this. They're like, well, I don't like that you guys have early release days, so I wouldn't vote for stuff like that. And I'm like, well, what do I gotta do? But like, it's just, so that's why I'm just like, I'm not gonna argue with people on stuff. I'll lay it out there. You do what you want, you're grown. But like, sometimes people just have hangups. And it is what it is. You just gotta push the people who actually will support it. Go vote.
And that is, so let's be clear, that's the biggest strategy, right? Because you only need more supporters than non-supporters. That's it. This isn't you need a 10%, 20%. You need one
extra
more than the other. And so that's why our getting to the networks is the most important. Grassroots campaigns have more because there is some trepidation around the more broadly you start, the more opposition that it has. So,
Are we working with the high schoolers to make sure they're registered and educated also?
you know it. Yes, we do work with our voting registration.
As long as you got the signs. That was, we need the signs.
To ASAP.
Coming.
When we're talking to the different community groups, are we also asking them for a commitment to share? So more than just educating them, to asking them, can you share this with Teen Community Network? Or, you know what I mean? Like, are we asking them to spread that message?
Yes, and so my message is always, I'm here so that you can be knowledge ambassadors and share this, not just for you, but I need you to commit to be knowledge ambassadors that go out and make sure people have the right information about this. So, yes, that is the practice right now.
So not church announcements, just write them up.
Exactly.
So I have a clarity question. I know Battle Creek Public Schools can't say vote yes on this. I can, but can I, this is gonna sound weird, but like throw my title around like, hey, I'm the president of Battle Creek Public School Board, vote yes. Is that speaking on, like I don't wanna get in,
You're not.
I don't wanna cross the line.
Yes.
Okay.
So the rub is using tax dollars, and so everything I do is from tax dollars.
Got it.
And so that's why employees cannot. The superintendent actually can after hours as long as I'm not using district. So I can go into the community and advocate outside of my official superintendent position.
You have after hours?
I know, for 10 hours, but it's only superintendent of the Board of Education, but everybody else has to be careful about that. So you are free.
Do we have some of these that we can take with us today?
Yes, I do. Okay.
This is why we don't get paid. This is
This is some thick paper.
Right.
Anything else? Okay. Moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Thank you. New business. Okay. The secretary is ready. I'm about to say some names. I will entertain a motion for Kids Read Now. Yes, trustee.
I move to approve the Kids Read Now and the amount of $83,837 from the funding source 31A.
Support.
It's been moved by trustee Johnson, supported by trustee Perry. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion for accessible period products.
President Fulbright,
Yes, trustee Grajek.
I move we approve accessible period products in the amount up to $37,000 from funding source APP.
Any support? It's been moved by trustee Grajek, supported by trustee Hoagland Jackson. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Moving on to security upgrade. Oh, go ahead, trustee.
I cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I move that we approve the security upgrades in amount up to $225,653 coming from our funding source of school safety grant.
I second.
It's been moved by trustee Perry, supported by trustee Norman. Any discussion? All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. Motion passes. Moving on to BCAMSC, support from Battle Creek Community Foundation. I'll entertain a motion. Yes, Trustee Grayjack?
I move that we support BCAMSC, support from Battle Creek Community Foundation, the amount of $400,000 per year funding source, BCCF.
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Grayjack, supported by Trustee Johnson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion for the BCAMSC Griffin Museum of Science and Industry.
President Fulbright,
Yes, Trustee Hoagland Jackson?
I make a motion that we approve the BCAMSC Griffin Museum of Science and Industry to be student funded.
Any support? It's been moved by Trustee Hoagland Jackson, supported by Trustee Norman. Any discussion? All in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion for the Cedar Point field trip, BCAMSC.
President Fulbright,
Yes, Trustee Johnson?
I move to approve the Cedar Point field trip with the Battle Creek Area Mountain Science Center from the funding source student funding. Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Johnson, supported by Trustee Perry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. Moving on to G, the approval of the superintendent mid-year evaluation. I'll entertain a motion. Yes,
I
Trustee.
move that we approve the superintendent mid-year evaluation.
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Grayjack, supported by Trustee Johnson. Any discussion? I did have one. Yeah, I was just gonna say, so we said this the last time, but I also will say it again. The result of the mid-year, we are keeping her 3 goals that she presented to us, which are not on that page. 1 second.
Oh, wait. I had it. It was in the packet.
Oh, yeah, they're right. Nope. So the first goal is improve student outcomes. Second goal is reduce chronic absenteeism. And the third goal is positive culture and climate. The board decided at our last meeting that we will continue those goals for the rest of the school year. And then we'll reevaluate at the superintendent evaluation. Any other discussion? Should we do a roll call vote or? Okay. All in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. All opposed say no. Motion passes. Superintendent comments.
Thank you, everybody, and those are all my comments for today.
Board member comments. Trustee McClenny?
Real quick, I just wanted to tell the young man, Jonathan Graycheck, I really, having recently become diabetic in the last year or two, I could really appreciate his comments. I might not have said that maybe a couple of years ago, but and a good meal and knowing when to eat and what not to eat and watching what you can consume. I support his comments 100% tonight because I totally get it.
Any other board member comment?
I have a quick one. I should have said this when the schools are here, but Fremont's IB showcase is really great. So next year, if you all get a chance, you should go to it live. It's an hour and it's not enough time because each class has a different thing that they're focused on, and they have student ambassadors there that tell you about the project. So that is really, really neat to see that learning in action. And then it's nice. I'm glad that we've added the school showcases in here because it's nice to hear what each school is doing, how they're making progress, and then hopefully that learning is going out amongst all of our schools. But I'd like to hear what STEM had going on.
Sorry, I had a reminder.
Go ahead.
And I forgot. Hampton University was here, which I attended church, and then they were at the high school. One thing that I wanted to mention, and I was reminded about, is each student talked about what their major was. And every one of the students that taught, they were impressed with our career academy because they go, hey, that's my major, that's my major. That's what they talked about, and they were talking about how what we're doing would help them when they go to college. But they were real impressed. I did not get this personally, it was relayed to me, was they could not believe the Bearcat Advantage. And they were just, those students were shocked, and they really were, if they could come here and be ambassadors to our community and push that from kindergarten up to 12th grade, those students would be the best ambassadors because they were talking about the times that we're in now, being able to get a college education. So our community, once again, should really appreciate what we have as far as the Bearcat Advantage. The next time, I hope we get a bigger crowd and more students because they need to hear from these students.
Trustee Johnson?
So I'm chair of the Urban League Board. We had an opera gala. Superintendent Carter came. It was so good. And the community showed up. I mean, it was beyond our expectations in terms of attendance. We didn't have enough seats for eating, but it was just a classy event, and it just really made me think about the arts and continuing to nurture that among our students. And so yes, I just want to thank the community and Superintendent Carter for being there. It's good.
Any other comments? Okay, well, I'll end with a reminder. March is reading month. So if you love to read to kids, I'm sure any one of our buildings would love to have you come volunteer and read to the kids in the classroom. That's for the public and for board members. Also, March is Women's History Month, so I want to thank Trustee Nordman, Trustee Johnson, Trustee Perry, and Dr. Carter. I'm very grateful to work with each one of you on our board, and thank you for all you do. And with that being said, great things are happening in Battle Creek Public Schools.
Mr. Hay,